Very often as well, there is a gap between science and practice. That means, for example, staying with Indonesia, the country that my colleague before mentioned, Indonesia has a national deworming program. However, the drug that is used in this program is not evidence-based. The drug is not effective against the worms that are prevalent in Indonesia. Why is that? Because the company that produces the drugs is sponsoring the program. So irrespective of best possible evidence that this drug is not working against the worms that are prevalent in the country, the government uses it just because it gets these drugs for free. And there are often gaps between sectors, as I said. In this case here, the gap between the education and health sector, who have problems collaborating or working with each other. This little diagram shows you some of the areas where science and research can actually help. Because in public health, you have interventions that work on a small trial, in a pilot basis. But when you go on a population basis, on a large-scale implementation, you have issues in influencing your intervention effectiveness, which are outside of the pilot and could not be assessed during the pilot. Politics comes into play. Many other things come into play. So the real-life conditions are the ones that need research. And that is usually not about the intervention of the evidence of an intervention, whether a medication works or not. It's about how do I get this medication to the people, for example. So it's about process. How can the process be improved? And this is an area of research that is very often neglected. In public health or in medicine, in health, research very often stops at this applied research level or at community demonstrations, but does not go beyond. So how does Fit for School link science and research? As I showed you before, the program design, the prioritization of the diseases and the disease burden, the health outcome study that accompanies the program, all these are areas where research and universities and institutions are involved. A costing study is currently underway to detail all the indirect and the total economic costs of the program. The figure that I mentioned before, the 50 US cents, is for the program supplies only. And there are other areas such as knowledge management and sharing, disseminating the knowledge from the program where other institutions are involved. And those are institutions and universities from the south, from the Philippines themselves, the University of Philippines and a local university in Mindanao, but also international universities like University of London, two WHO collaborating centers, and last but not least, the scientific department of the German Development Corporation, GIZ. How is policy evidence and implementation, how are they linked? Of course, every intervention or every large-scale public health program needs a supportive policy environment. Otherwise, the program will not work or will not be fully supported. For example, in this program, teachers are the ones giving out the deworming drug. And usually the teacher doesn't have such an activity in his or her job description. So policy analysis is a first step to look at what are teachers mandated to do and how can this be amended or changed. So help and support and technical assistance in policy analysis and formulation. The monitoring and evaluation is an area. Capacity development, very important for intersectoral collaboration to make sure that sectors can effectively interface. In this case, institutions and universities involved are, of course, GIZ and the capacity building arm of GIZ, which was formerly INWENT, now part of GIZ. We're also working very closely with the Southeast Asian Association of Education Ministers, which has offices in all countries and provides technical guidance for education sector. UNICEF, other international bodies are also involved. And lastly, the program also links development actors, private sector, and governments. Very often we hear and we read about public-private partnerships, about how we can, in theory, integrate the private sector, but when we look at the realities, large-scale programs using or involving all those actors, they're hard to find, at least in health. In this case, the areas where they interface are, again, advocacy and promotion of the program, seed funding, capacity building, technical assistance, and knowledge management. The actors involved here are, of course, the ministries, the relevant ministries in the Philippines, but again, GIZ, AusAid is also a co-partner in this program, the Australian Development Agency, UNICEF, and two of the major global soap, toothpaste, and deworming drug producers, which is GlaxoSmithKline and Unilever. Let me quickly highlight some of the key results after 1 year of health outcome study data collection. The red numbers are the ones you need to look at. The days of absence from school have been reduced after 1 year already by 27%. The number of children categorized as below normal, so with a body mass index that is lower than of their healthy peers, has been reduced by 20%. The number of children with heavy intensity worm infections, those who are affected the most by intestinal worms, has been almost halved. And the reduction in caries increase is significant with 38%. The program currently covers 40 provinces, which is about half of the Philippines, and reaches about 2 million children. And the numbers are, as you can see, steeply increasing every year. So the program is expanding and successfully growing. From the activities of the program, 6 best practices have been condensed, which can be applied and used in any other setting or in similar settings in low and middle income countries. And actually, this is what GIZ and AusAid are currently doing. The program is expanding to Indonesia, Laos, and Cambodia. Those 6 principles, I won't go into too much detail given the short time. Again, use best possible evidence, and that is based on sound science and review of literature, focusing on key diseases. Linking global activities with local activities. One is the Global Hand Washing Day, for example. Some of you may have heard about it. It's happening every year in October. But there are also a lot of international policies that are related to school health. So there's no need to reinvent something local. You can use the global templates. Advocacy with a vision. That is something important with regards to sustainability. Every activity has to be integrated into the local budget, financed sustainably. Participation and ownership, this doesn't need much explanation. All of those activities in schools have impacts not only on health, but also on education. As you have seen, the days of absence have been reduced, which means children's performance in schools is better, which yields overall economic benefits. One of the leading World Bank experts, Donald Bundy, said just recently in a publication, the question now is not whether school health programs are necessary, but how they can be implemented at meaningful scale in the poorest countries, which need them the most. This is the challenge that we now face. Again, he highlights here that it is not about inventing new things or new technology or more research on the evidence of certain health interventions. It's about how you can implement these things at the places where it is necessary. So it's translational research, it is implementation research that is required. In summary, why do I think that the jury should vote for Fit for School? I think it would be a great recognition and a wonderful promotion for a simple, scalable model that has huge impacts on health, education, and development of children. It would set an example how intersectoral collaboration helps to bridge gaps between policy, research, and practice. And it would again highlight the importance of investing in health and education to promote economic development and to contribute to poverty reduction. Fit for School provides a tested best practice model for effective school health that integrates best possible research evidence in order to maximize the results. So please don't forget health when you think about this award, and please vote for Fit for School. Thank you.